the marketer's world today is primarily, I mean, digital is playing a bigger and bigger role on an everyday basis. How you sort of distribute the content or the messaging that you create. How do you use the insight that is generated? But a lot of your data today is generated on an offline sort of medium. How are you sort of using that data black, plowing it in and using that to understand your customer better?
So let me explain to you a little bit about the universe itself. One of the fair assumptions most of us make as a mutual fund marketer is that I could really go out to people and market to those people who, one, have a PAN, and two, are paying taxes. Today, as far as the latest Ministry of Finance figures are concerned, that's around 6.5 crore people. It's estimated that there are 2 crores unique mutual fund investors as far as we know today in the industry. Franklin Templeton would have a 10% market share roughly of that. I think the way we are approaching this whole process is to go out and find out who are these guys and where are they available. And one of the easiest places which we've seen to track is obviously digital. Roughly, if I were to look back a year back, there were less than 1 million searches happening a month on mutual fund keywords. 2-3 years before that, it was probably even half of that. Today, there are over 2.5 million searches happening on a monthly basis for mutual funds. So obviously one of the first places I want to go out and target them is being there digital. Hence for us, performance marketing plays a very key role, and trying to build a journey for the user where he's able to see my brand online right up to the point where he can come and transact is something which we're trying to build. So whether it's retargeting, whether it's a little bit of influencer marketing also, whether it's actually looking at affiliates in market segments, those are the places we're actually going out and looking at mutual fund marketing. It's important to note today, unlike a lot of other segments which you already have, you have a personal finance segment, you have someone who's willing to buy cars, you have even someone who's willing to look at shaving blades. There is no real mutual fund mapped segment or mutual fund consumer segment. The closest is probably personal finance or taxpayers. And those are very natural proxies for me to look at. And if you can build that funnel and then slowly trickle them down into looking at offering the mutual fund solutions, that's one of the best probably ways we can go online to track them.
How do you sort of use content today to build the need case for mutual funds in the market and explain to the consumer sort of how to go about the process?
As a firm, the conscious strategy which we've always taken is to ensure that if we were going out to our consumers to try and get them to look at mutual funds, one, you needed to build awareness around the concept of mutual fund. Right. Two, explain the benefits of mutual fund, and three, therefore, what were the barriers / impediments when they had to come in. We tried a lot of various things. We also started with a pure advertising campaign, but we realized that consumers were not understanding this very well. And that's when we took up 2 unique routes over the last 3-4 years, and that's why we stuck to. One is on gamification and one is on storytelling. And we've used videos really to do some of the storytelling. It's very simple. We don't want to de-jargonize. We want to de-jargonize. We don't want to complicate the idea of mutual funds. We don't want to make it sound larger than life. Right. We kept it simple, tried to explain it to all our consumers in a very simple manner on why they should invest in mutual funds, what were 3 or 4 key benefits, how easy it was to come in, and if any barriers were there, how they could overcome them.
You mentioned gamification. That's something very interesting, and especially in a space which is by most seen as very complicated. How did you use gamification to make it much more engaging and fun, and in that process understand the mutual fund space better?
So around 3 or 4 years back, we launched something known as the Fantastic Cup. The idea was simple. Could we get people to, one, understand mutual funds in a simple manner, two, keep coming back and learning more and more rather than just attending one session for half an hour and going off. Right. And three, let it be that they get incentivized to actually learn about it.
So there were rewards?
Yes, so we actually built in a full game. And how we did it is the first question was as simple as what's the currency of India, but there were 1800 questions which people were answering, and over the space of 6 months. So it had various levels, and each of those levels actually increased his awareness about investments and mutual funds. What was very unique is that it was like an open book exam. We encouraged people to go out and look for answers, whether they had to Google, whether they had to look at hints which we offered them or reading material, but we encouraged them to do that.